Hello and welcome to this lecture on Adobe Illustrator by Eduonix Technologies. In this lecture we're going to be making a button like you'd use on a website or for an image, usually to click on. But we're going to be exploring light and shadow and darkness, creating depth and all that stuff, so this has a lot of uses. If you want to use the rounded corner box, now's the time. And what I did was I created a rounded corner box and I have my shapes up here, starting shapes. I'm just going to show you really quick how I got to them. If you know already, go ahead and skip this part to where I'm playing with the shapes. You create around a corner box, and you can just lasso these inner corners and do a transform just with those anchor points, selected, and drag it out a little bit. Create kind of a hexagonish shape. Yes, that's a word. Look it up tomorrow. It's on Wikipedia. Not right now. But that's what I did. I took the pencil tool and I just drew like a Pepsi symbol above it. And if you want to turn your fidelity really high, your smoothness really high, I'd advise it. It makes for a much smoother line. What I did is I just used the smooth tool. I went over it. And if it's not, you can either drag this out if you want it to be even, but it's not always good to be that even. In fact, I'm going to lessen this whole side. Make it slightly less curved than the other. You select them both and go to divide. So you're going to need these two shapes. I might as well use these two anyway. So what I have here is an oval. That's all it is, simple oval. Go to New Brush. Here in the Brushes panel. All these panels are in Window. And if you can't see them, hold over Type, and it'll be there. And if it's the tools you're looking for, they're up here. The control panels are up here. So everything is up in Window. So I'm not going to keep saying that throughout these tutorials. Just keep that in mind. So I created a new art brush. Hit the new symbol and create an art brush. You can also drag it in, I think. It'll make one. Yeah, and you would just select art brush. Anyway, you select this anchor and this one and this one and hit Control F. And that's going to paste just that line in there. Now place anchor points in between the last segments here. Select the end anchor points and hit delete. So essentially I went from a line that went all the way up to this cut that we made, all the way up here, down to an anchor point. And I'm going to make this green so you can see it, so you know what I did. Nice green line. So yeah, I went from it going all the way up here and about here to down there, so that's what you want. I mean, you could just transform this, but that's a little sloppy because it comes in from the sides more than it does up and down. So if you transform it, because we're going to want to make it smaller and inset, you're going to want to do it two ways to match and look really close, careful. But rather than transform it, let's go up to Object, Path, Offset Path, and we're going to hit, actually that's a good value. Now obviously it creates a lot of stuff we don't want, so just select what you do want. Hit undo, delete it, paste in front, get rid of any extra anchor points. I'm going to take that and hit the brush that we just made. I'm going to take that, go to Object, Expand Appearance, and then we're going to go to Effect, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Now you might not be setting these to the same amounts, that's fine. You might have a bigger or smaller shape. But I'm going to do 10 for this one. And go down to darken under transparency. Once again, it's a panel located in Windows. So now we have a nice dark bottom to our button. We're going to need a shape under this, as these are two separate shapes, and we're going to need it to be the same shape. So just take the two red parts, copy and paste in front, go to Pathfinder, and unite. You take that whole shape you just made and Control-Shift left bracket, send it to the back. Now you can select the top, Control-C to copy. So with that selected, take your red from your fill and drag it over here to where the black is. And you make sure the line on the gradient bar disappears. Now, if this gradient bar is over here and you're expanding it, whenever you grab your red, just drag it over here, and if it's not expanded, make sure you expand it. And it's good to drag it out, or it'll keep disappearing on you. So drag it out and put it where the black is. Make sure there's no line so you know it's going to replace the black instead of adding a gradient point. Took me a while there. Drag it so that the white is on top, but go a little bit to the right, just a little bit. And if it did it backwards, just hit the reverse gradient button. I'm going to go to about 40%. If you notice it's a little yellow, hit your white, and if that pops up, just go up here to the upper right and click whichever mode you're in, CMYK for this. Go a little yellow if you're doing red, in a lot of red, but make it so it's still really light. And then go down here to screen or luminosity or soft light. Hard light would be better, but luminosity is good. I'm going to go with lighten though, because it's a little bit less of a color. Maybe get down to like 34, 35%. Just want that to be very faint. And zoomed out a little bit. Go ahead and select your blurred thing down here. We're going to lighten this up a little bit. We're also going to copy it, paste in front. And if you're wondering how I select things, I like to use the direct selection tool, the white tool, shortcut key A, and select right in the middle of shapes if they're big enough. If not, I'll use the regular selection tool, but I make so many groups that I like to use this when I know I want just an individual part. It's just a habit. I haven't even made a group yet, but just go ahead and select that however you want. Flip it, and I'm just going to drag it up here, and I did a paste in front also. And if you made this symmetrical, it'll fit. If not, you have to change the shape a little bit. And I'll change the color. Now it has a blur on it. It's one thing you're going to realize: you can change any property, and the blur will still be applied. So right now that's lightening a little bit. You can make this a little bit of a tint, a lighter version of this red. But I kind of like the orange glow there, although I'm going to make it a screen effect so that it's just white affecting it and not a color. And go down to about 30 is good, I think. Maybe 40. Now this is where you're going to want to copy this, because you're going to have a lot of different styles that are going to come up in these next few steps. You can group them if you want. Control G, Control G, Control G. And take these shapes, and with the Pathfinder tool, you're going to unite them. Copy that. Go back to before you united anything. Because you want those, you want to still have these two shapes we worked so hard to make. So just however you want, just get them behind, and I'm using the layers panel, get them behind these groups you just made. if you made them, you're actually going to want to ungroup these. Or what else you can do is just select the shapes originally, since the united ones are behind now, and Shift, Control, Shift, left bracket, send those all the way to the back so your whole ones are in front of the halves and your brightness and darkness is in front of the holes. That's what you want, however you get to that point. So with each of these, and you're going to want to make sure you have them selected individually, because if you do this as a group, you're not going to get the effects that you want. Now while you have these whole shapes selected, go ahead and select a transparency mode, something like a hard light. Set it to 50 or so you can see just a little bit behind. Go up to 3D, extrude and bevel. We're going to put a basic one on for now and edit them individually. So hit front, because we don't need an angle. If you want to preview it at this point, it's fine. You really don't need to. Just hit front, hit rounded, cove, rolling, or classic. I wouldn't mess around with these for this. I'm going to go with rounded, and then I'm going to make a few of them cove and whatnot. Now, you'll start to get a bevel self-intersection, which can be pretty ugly. If you're getting it at 1 or 2 points, go ahead and hit cancel and make these about 4 times bigger. If you can get 5 or 6 or 7 without an intersect, and you have much less chance of an intersect with rounded or smooth ones. Rounded is actually the best than you do with like cove or something. So if you're getting a good non-intersecting rounded bevel, and now mine's telling me it's always intersecting, but I can't see it. You'll notice it'll get really ugly. It's just around 5 if you have it to as big as mine is, and mine is, looks like about 2.5 inches, or looks like about 160, 170 pixels. Anyway, we got a really subtle effect on there. So I'm going to change the transparency mode to something that's more apparent. Rather, I'm going to change the color. Now, you have like a nice solid color on the shirt to working with. Don't change the hue. Change the saturation and brightness, and you can use the color picker. Just go diagonal up and left from where you are. If you're red, you're going to get a pink. If you're blue, you're going to get a light sky blue. If you go up, you'll get sky blue. If you go up to the left, you'll get a baby blue. Hit a nice light color for that. And so you can start changing these individually now. You get some really dramatic effects. Just cycle through the transparency layers, or sorry, the transparency types. Hue is a good one. Luminosity is usually a good one. I'm going to leave it on that. So as you can see, the color of my button overall has changed at this point. If you want to change it back, make sure you watch my video on color. You just go up here to Object, and since I have a bunch of different colors selected, I would go to Color Balance, but you could also do Recolor Artwork. Color Balance uses the HSB color model, so it's really predictable and easy. I'm sorry, not Color Balance. I'm thinking of Photoshop. Yeah, Recolor Artwork, you can do it individually by colors that you use. So that's pretty cool. However you want to do that, I'm just going to keep it this way. And I'm just going to play with the extrude and bevel. Now, since we made it for all 3, but we had them selected individually, they're ungrouped, you can play with it afterwards, individually. If not, you would have to have them all three selected. So you can just click on this in the Appearance panel, located under Window, and just change the bevels. Make sure you have Preview on. Make one of them a code. Let's go ahead and play around with those. So right now you essentially have your button. So I'm going to do 3 states. This is going to be normal. This is going to be highlighted. You mouse over. So we're essentially creating 3 images. And this is going to be pressed in. So for the pressed in one, we're going to want to change the shape of the bevel. And a much easier way to do that, since we're just really changing the light angle on the bevel, is just to flip your shape. But before you flip it, just flip it, shortcut key E, hold in Shift, rotate till you see 180 in the gray box. Now, select your light colors here, your light and your dark. You're going to flip that one more time. Go up here, and I picked a multiply, 80%. For that one, just copy that. If you remember, I had 70% darkening down here, so I'm going to make this one about 30-40% darkening. And you have a basic pressed in effect. It's nothing too dramatic. Just type the text in. Look for the same smart guides on all of them, so you know that's the same, or you can draw your artboards around it. What I like to do is select all the shapes I just made, paste them in front, and group them, then deselect what I don't want with the lasso tool, for example. And just go up to Object, Artboards, Convert to Artboards. And I do that for each one of them. Since they're grouped, I can just deselect for each one of them after I've made the artboards. Do it all again. Select this guy, Convert to Artboards. So I have one around each of them. And I select the whole group and I delete it. Save your artboards. Oops. And I select the all the ones I just made and delete them. Looks like I already deleted them, but you would save your artboards. Each file is a different button. But that's how you create one. And once you got to the point where I just got to, you go ahead and start playing around with it. You've gotten the basic idea of light and depth, how to create shadows, contours, and that kind of thing. It's always good to blend it with the 3D tools, and with your main shape, just go through a lot of blending modes. Lighten is good for mouse overs, If you want to put an additional gradient on the shape, I'm not going to stop you. You drag your color right up to your gradient icon. It shows black, so let's put it where the white is. Give the red, the black a little richness, meaning give it a 50-50-50, so that it's not such an ugly blur. You don't want to have 000K or 100 black. That's what's called I call it a weak black. The other one's called a rich black. So they print better too. It looks better. So with that, play around with it. You get all kinds of cool stuff. See, I got a nice border there. But anyway, thanks for watching. That's been how to create buttons. And just once you get to the stage, and just have fun, play with it. You don't even have to have these same exact curvy shapes. You don't have to have anything. You just have to know how light interacts with objects. Look up spheres, look up things like that. Or just look at objects in real life and just look how the light plays off of them, knowing their shape. It's the best advice I can give you. But thanks for watching, and we'll have more like this on the way.